What if I told you the best way to stop your rival from winning a race was to give them a 5-year head start and a billion-dollar motivation? Sounds crazy, right? Well, that might be exactly what happened in the global war for technology. In 2019, the United States tried to deliver a knockout blow to China's tech ambitions. The plan was to cut off their biggest champion, Huawei, from the world's best computer chips. The thinking was simple: no advanced chips, no advanced tech. But fast forward to August 2023. Huawei quietly drops a new phone, the Mate 60 Pro. And when tech experts tear it open, they find something that shouldn't exist. A sophisticated, powerful, 5G-capable chip. Designed and, more importantly, made entirely inside China. This wasn't supposed to happen. So how did they pull off this magic trick while under the world's tightest sanctions? Well, that's the story, and it's a wild one. It involves secret factories, billions in hidden investments, and a cat-and-mouse game that has completely rewritten the rules of the tech world. Let's rewind the clock to 2019. The US government places Huawei on the Entity List. This is a big deal. It's basically a technological blacklist. It banned American companies like Qualcomm and Intel from selling their high-end chips to Huawei. More critically, it cut Huawei off from the undisputed king of chipmaking, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, or TSMC. TSMC is the company that makes the most advanced chips for Apple, for Nvidia, for everyone. Without them, Huawei was essentially locked out of the high-performance club. The goal was containment. To stop China's rise in 5G, AI, and beyond. For a few years, it seemed to be working. Huawei's phone sales cratered. The world's tech experts thought China's domestic chip industry was at least 5 to 10 years behind. Then came the Mate 60 Pro. The chip inside was called the Kirin 9000S. And the company that built it was China's own Semiconductor Manufacturing International Corporation, or SMIC. This chip was built on what's known as a 7-nanometer process node. Now, what does that mean? Think of it like the wiring in a skyscraper. The smaller the number, the more wires you can pack in. More wires, more power, more efficiency. Today, the best chips from TSMC are at 3 nanometers. So, 7 nanometers isn't the absolute best in the world. But it's incredibly advanced. It's a high-performance tier that many thought was impossible for China to reach. Especially since SMIC is banned from buying the most advanced chip-making machines. The famous EUV lithography machines from the Dutch company ASML. They basically had to MacGyver a solution, pushing older equipment to its absolute limits. And they did it. The Mate 60 Pro became a massive symbol of defiance in China. It was proof that the sanctions hadn't killed them. They might have actually made them stronger and faster. But the story gets so much deeper than just one phone. Because while everyone was focused on the Kirin chip, Huawei was playing a much bigger, much more secretive game. Since 2019, Huawei has been quietly building a ghost empire. A sprawling, secret network of chip companies all across China. They did this through a wholly owned investment arm called Huawei, established in 2019. Huawei has invested in more than 60 different companies. These aren't just random startups. They cover every single step of the semiconductor supply chain. Chip design, manufacturing, special materials, packaging, and testing. Huawei isn't just trying to buy chips. It's trying to build the entire assembly line from scratch. And here's where the sanctions evasion gets really clever. Many of these companies in Huawei's network are not on the US Entity List. So they can still import advanced equipment from the West. We're seeing brand new, high-tech factories pop up right next to each other. One is an entity-listed company, like PXW. Right across the street, a new fab by a startup called Pingjin High-Tech, which is controlled by Huawei. Pingjin isn't on the list, so it can import advanced tools. And regulators are just supposed to believe they won't share anything with their neighbor? It's a shell game on an industrial scale. And it's working. Analysts estimate this Huawei fab network is set to spend $7.3 billion on foreign equipment in 2024. This would make it the 4th largest chip equipment buyer in the entire world. If you add in SMIC and another memory company called CXMT, who work closely with Huawei, they become the 2nd biggest buyer on the planet, only behind TSMC. They are building a self-reliant chip empire in the shadows, fueled by state funding. We're talking about a reported $30 billion in government backing just last year. This is a state-sponsored mission to achieve technological independence. And it's not just Huawei. While Huawei was grabbing all the headlines, another Chinese giant was making moves. Xiaomi, the world's third-largest smartphone maker. They've been quietly expanding their own chip portfolio. Not just the main processors, but crucial smaller chips for things like camera systems and power management. But in May of 2025, they dropped a bombshell. They unveiled their own breakthrough mobile processor, the Zring 01. This isn't just any chip, it's designed on a leading-edge 3nm node. That puts it on par with the best from Apple and Qualcomm, at least in design. To back it up, Xiaomi's founder, Lei Jun, announced a massive investment plan. We're talking nearly $7 billion US, that's 50 billion yuan, over 10 years, just for chip design. This shows that the push for chip independence isn't just a Huawei thing. It's a national movement among China's biggest tech players. So, you'd think Washington would see this and double down, right? They did, but the game changed again. The US unleashed a new weapon, aimed at the very heart of chip design. They instructed American companies to stop supplying electronic design automation, or EDA, software to China. What is EDA? Think of it as the master blueprint for a microchip. It's incredibly complex software made by US companies like Synopsys and Cadence. It's what engineers use to design the billions of transistors on a modern chip. Without the latest EDA tools and updates, designing an advanced chip is almost impossible. This move was designed to hit companies like Xiaomi, who design their own chips, but then rely on TSMC in Taiwan to manufacture them using these American software systems. The US is trying to cut the link not just at the factory, but at the drawing board itself. But even here, China was one step ahead. For years, Huawei has been investing heavily in Chinese EDA companies, like Empyrean Technology. Are their tools as good as the American ones? Not yet. But industry insiders say for chips at 7nm and above, they are usable. The new ban might just force every Chinese company to switch to domestic EDA software, accelerating their development even faster. It's the same pattern all over again. A Western restriction intended to halt progress ends up fueling a massive push for a domestic alternative. And that's not the only alternative they're pushing. China is also championing something called RISC-V. RISC-V is an open-source chip architecture. Think of it like Linux for computer chips. It's not owned or controlled by any single company or country. By moving toward RISC-V, China can design chips without worrying about Western licensing fees or restrictions. It's another critical piece of their technological sovereignty puzzle. So what does this all mean? What started as a targeted strike on Huawei in 2019 has morphed into an all-out technological war across the entire industry. The US feared that China would one day be able to build advanced technology without any foreign help. That fear is now becoming a reality, way faster than anyone predicted. The sanctions forced China's hand. They had to learn to build everything themselves, from the ground up. And it turns out, they're learning very, very quickly. The global supply chain that defined technology for 30 years is fracturing. We're seeing a great decoupling, a split into two separate tech ecosystems. One led by the US and its allies. And another, increasingly self-sufficient one, being built inside China. The race for the future of technology isn't just about who can build the best chip. It's about who can build the entire stack, the tools, the factories, the software, everything. And what Huawei and Xiaomi have shown is that China is no longer just a player in the game. They're building their own stadium, with their own rules. And the whole world is now watching to see who wins.
If you like what you see, hit that like button and subscribe for more.